right. So I was having a few technical difficulties, but I'll wait a few minutes to see if we're coming in clear. Are we coming in clear? Do I have a few people in the room already? All right, I see a few people coming in. Welcome and peace, family. Welcome to the Sovereign Circle. Whether you're here live or catching the replay or finding this conversation later on, I'm glad you're here. This month, we're talking about becoming safe enough to receive. And last week, we talked about why abundance can feel unsafe. This week, we're taking it one step further and we're talking about receiving. And I want to be real from the beginning. Receiving sounds easy when people say it fast. People always say, just let somebody help you. But for some of us, it isn't that simple. Receiving can bring up many things. It can bring up fears. It can make us feel exposed. And it can make us wonder if people are going to think less of us. Sometimes it can also make us feel like asking for help means that we can't handle our own lives. And I've ran into a lot of these issues, and that's why this topic is such a one for me today. One of the hardest parts of receiving for me has been the fear that it could take away my independence. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not in a fake, deep way, not in a polished way that sounds good but doesn't mean anything, because we have a lot of that. But I want to talk about it in a real way. So I have a question for everyone in the chat. Hey, um, is it easier for you to give or receive? And you can be honest, there's no right answer for that one. Let me see. Shay said it's easier for her to give. Okay, I see a lot of givers. I see a few receivers. Here's my truth about receiving. For me, one of the hardest parts of receiving has been feeling like if I accept the help, maybe people will think that I can't handle my own life. How many of you guys have felt that way before? Like when asking someone, you be like, there's that little thought in your head, like maybe they're going to think that I can't do this on my own. And sometimes even when I needed help, I still wanted to prove that I could do it by myself. I didn't want people to look at me differently. I didn't want anybody thinking that I was weak. I didn't want anybody thinking I couldn't take care of myself. And asking for help has been hard. Part of abundance is not always easy to receive from people, because asking for help may mean admitting that you need something. And a lot of times we don't always want to admit that. And when you've spent a long time surviving, you can be really good at hiding your needs. A lot of times we'll keep moving. You'll carry things quietly. I've done that a lot. Carry things quietly, make it look like everything is fine, because for some reason I don't want to be a burden. You don't want to need too much. You don't want to take up too much space. So growing up, struggle taught me to be quiet. It taught me to be invisible. I would think, don't speak up. Don't be too loud. Don't speak too loud. Don't let people see too much. And those lessons didn't disappear just because I became an adult. They follow me and they show up in how I ask for help even today. They even show up if I don't ask for help. They show up in how I try to carry everything alone. They show up in how giving, a lot of the times, giving for me felt easier than receiving. Because when I was giving, I still felt in control. But receiving meant opening the door. And opening the door can feel vulnerable a lot of times. Now, I'm not saying that everybody experiences receiving in the same way. This is just my experience that I wanted to share with you. But some people may recognize, these things in themselves too, as well. So, one thing and a very important thing that I am learning is that we need each other. That doesn't mean that we have to depend on everybody. That doesn't mean that we trust everybody. I don't trust everybody. You have to listen to your intuition. That doesn't mean handing over your power. It means that we stop acting like needing support makes us less powerful in any type of way. I always like to take it back to this thought. When I was born, I couldn't do anything for myself. I needed my mother, I needed my father, and I needed somebody to feed me, to hold me. I needed somebody to protect me. I needed people. And we all came into this world needing people. So, one question that I like to ask myself in my daily reflections is, when did we start acting like needing help later in life means that we failed? And that's something worth thinking about, because a lot of times asking for help is pretty hard, especially when you run into different situations of, people holding it against you or any type of thing like that. So, I want to also talk about giving not being the same as over giving. There is a distinction there, because giving can be a beautiful thing. Helping people can be beautiful. Showing up for people, that's a really beautiful thing. But giving and over giving aren't the same thing. Healthy giving has a choice in it. Healthy giving says, I want to help. I have the capacity to help. I can give without destroying myself. But overgiving sounds very different. Overgiving sounds like, if I don't help, they may leave. If I stop showing up, they may not love me. Um, some other ways that overgiving sounds like is, if I say no, they may think I'm selfish. If I don't carry this, everything may fall apart. Um, And if you felt that way before, in the comments, just put some hearts in the building, because I know a lot of us have felt that way. But the giving and the over giving, there's a very particular distinction. Sometimes over giving isn't only about generosity, and sometimes we have to peep that in certain situations and things, because sometimes over giving is about fear. Sometimes people overgive to control. And sometimes it feels safer to keep giving than to admit that we might need something too. And there's something that I want to say plainly, is that you can be a good person and still say no. You can still love people and still have limits. You can care about somebody and still refuse to carry what belongs to them. And that's a lot of times I've struggled with that one in particular, because a lot of times, for instance, I will take on what doesn't belong to me, like what their problems have now become my problems. But that's not always healthy. You don't have to become empty or overextend yourself to prove that your heart is full. Um, a lot of times we glorify exhaustion too much. It's the like the do society. You gotta be doing something to feel like you're worth something. We act like being tired all the time means that we're loving people the right way. We act like carrying everybody means that we're strong. But sometimes carrying everybody isn't strength. Sometimes it's self abandonment wearing a nice outfit. Sometimes it looks noble from the outside, but inside you're drained. So, for the comments and everybody who is watching, I would like for you to take the time to ask yourself this question. Yeah. Am I giving because I want to or because I'm scared of what may happen if I stop? Am I giving from love or am I giving from fear? That is the major difference. Let me see. I see a few comments here. I see a few that says that they agree that giving they would be scared if they stopped. Okay. I'm glad I'm glad that some of this resonates with some of you. The next thing I want to talk about is why receiving can feel so hard sometimes. Receiving can be hard because it asks us to do things that survival didn't always teach us. Receiving will start asking you to trust. It will ask you to slow down. It asks us to let somebody see that we don't have everything figured out. And if we know that we don't like for people to know that we need help, that we might not have everything figured out. It asks us to stop performing strength for just a minute. And if you learn how to stay invisible, I myself am one of those people who have learned to stay invisible. Receiving may also mean letting yourself be seen. And that can feel like a lot. Somebody may offer help, and we might immediately say, "No, I'm good. I got it." You don't have to do that, even when we're not good. Even when we don't have it, even when a part of us wishes that somebody would help, but we don't ask. Sometimes we don't know how to receive or ask without immediately trying to repay it back. Somebody gives us a compliment, or we try to look for a way to give one back, or we may even push it away. Somebody may offer support, and we start looking for like the hidden cost, like what is in it for them. Somebody may show up for us, do something nice, and then we start wondering what they want, what are their motives. And that may happen when help, because for some of us help hasn't always been safe. It may happen when kindness has somehow came with strings attached. It may happen when support was later used against you. I like to call this one the Indian giver, the person that will throw it in your face that you helped them in some sort of way. And if that has happened to any of you guys in the comments, put drop a a comment saying that has happened to you as well. So I'm not here to shame anybody for reacting that way, because I have. I'm one who have reacted that way, and the reason for these are to kind of shed light and open the discussions for those, and to say that I noticed it. I noticed it within myself first. And even now, the goal isn't to force any feelings. The practice is to notice patterns. So, a question that I ask myself is this moment actually unsafe, or does it just feel unfamiliar? And that question matters because unfamiliar doesn't always mean danger. Sometimes unfamiliar is peace, but guess what? Peace isn't familiar to us. So we sometimes think that it's dangerous. Sometimes unfamiliar is somebody showing up and not asking for your whole soul in return. Like you, it's just crazy. Sometimes unfamiliar is getting help before you completely fall apart, not, during. Sometimes unfamiliar is letting something good happen to you and letting it happen to you without trying to minimize or deflect or give it back. Because I know for me, a lot of times, if I'm in the room with a group of people and something good happens to me, sometimes I look around because I want something good to happen to everyone else in order for me to accept a compliment or to accept what that person had just gave me in front of everybody. But I have learned to notice that and to grow past those type of responses. Receiving doesn't mean losing yourself. And this is the part that was hard for me and I had to learn. Because receiving doesn't mean losing your independence. It doesn't mean handing over your power. It doesn't mean becoming helpless. It doesn't mean somebody else gets to run your life. Sometimes the right support actually protects your independence, and you have to look for that. Ask yourself, is the help that someone is giving me uplifting me, protecting me? Sometimes the help will give you more time. Sometimes it will give you more information. Sometimes it may give you more breathing room. And sometimes it gives you enough strength to stand up in your own life again. There's a difference between receiving support and surrendering your authority. There's a difference between allowing help and giving somebody control. There's a difference between connection and dependence. And boundaries help us understand that difference. You can say, yeah, I need help with this, and still say, no, that doesn't mean that you get to run my life. You can receive advice and still use your own mind. You can accept support and still keep your voice. You can let somebody help you without giving them unlimited access to you. That is what healthy receiving can look like. When you receive in a healthy way, you don't disappear, you don't shrink, you don't hand yourself over, you just let the support meet you where you are. And tomorrow is the 4th of July. Um, and with the 4th of July coming up, we're going to hear a lot about freedom. But I want to be honest about where I stand with that. I don't personally celebrate the American or Western meaning behind the 4th of July in the traditional way. I feel like our freedom was celebrated on Juneteenth. But I don't celebrate it in the traditional way. At the same time, I do believe that many holidays and rituals that we see today may carry echoes of something much older, something ancient, something that is connected to memory, spirit, cycles, liberation, and the human need to mark change. So I'm choosing to take what speaks to me from this moment. I'm celebrating freedom, not just political freedom, not just the version written in the history books. I'm celebrating the freedom from carrying everything alone. Freedom from believing I have to struggle before I deserve support. Freedom from proving my worth through exhaustion. freedom from staying quiet because I was taught to not speak too loudly, be quiet, disappear in the room. Freedom from acting like I don't need help when I know damn well that I do. Freedom from believing that receiving makes me weak or appear weak in any way. Freedom can mean saying, I'm still powerful even when I need support. I'm still independent even when I let somebody help me. I don't have to carry everything alone to prove that I'm strong. That's the freedom that I'm choosing to honor today. The freedom to receive, the freedom to ask, to be supported, to be seen, the freedom to let something good reach me without immediately pushing it away or not accepting it. The kind of freedom that even now till this day, I'm still learning. And some of you may be still learning too. So in the comments, I want to hear from you. You can answer this in the chat if you feel comfortable. I have a few questions. And you can answer any one of these that you want to do. You don't have to answer them all. You can just answer the ones that kind of resonate with you. Because I create these questions to reflect on patterns that I notice within myself. So I have a few. I think it's about 7 questions. So the first one is, what is hardest for you to receive? What do you fear receiving may cost you? Do you feel like receiving gonna cost you anything? Do you worry that people will think less of you if you ask for help? Were you taught to stay quiet or handle anything alone or not need much help? That question right there is a big one for me because by staying quiet and handling everything alone, we are silently taught to carry these burdens and you know, act like we don't need that much, like we're low maintenance or anything like that. That's not the case. What kind of support will make your life lighter right now? And what will receiving without losing yourself look like? And you can share only what feels comfortable. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's real. Hey, hi, Auntie. BB. Hi, BB. I know. I had a issue. So I'm in between choosing the right streaming program for YouTube. And today, when I was trying to get on YouTube, it was giving me a little bit of issue. And I already had a stream scheduled, but it wouldn't allow me to actually stream. I had to create a whole new stream. So if you are following, just hit the notification bell so that if anything happens like this, like if I need to create a new stream or anything like that, that you will be able to get the notifications. Because I did have some technical issues today that I'm working on. It's okay. So yes, and I understand why it maybe feel hard. Some people said it's easy. Okay, so you don't struggle with that, but they do struggle with boundaries. We'll get into that. We'll get into boundaries as well because that is a big one. You could be learning that support and independence can exist at the same time, at that same damn time. You don't have to have everything figured out before you begin. But this week, I want to leave you with a practice. Receiving one thing without minimizing it, without pushing it away, without deflecting, just one. It could be a compliment, a meal, It could be a ride or a kind message. It could be if someone helped you with a task. It could be an opportunity or a gift. It could be a moment of rest. And I know even myself, I had to overcome some obstacles with feeling guilty about resting because society moves at such a fast pace. If I often sleep, an hour longer, when I wake up, and it's not good to wake up like this after you are getting your rest, because a lot of times before I started taking notice in the patterns that I see in myself, when I would rest and sometimes I would sleep like maybe like an hour over or something like that, I would wake up frantic, wake up like, oh my gosh, I missed something. But that right there, that little thing that you notice will take away from your day. And it will take away from the abundance that you received, because in a way it's going to create a subconscious message to tell you that you don't deserve to rest. And that's what it told me, and that's all I noticed, and I was like, oh no. So when one of those things come to you today, don't, or for the week, don't immediately reject it. Don't rush to explain why you don't need it, because I've done that before. Somebody has offered me something and I will say very quickly, I don't need it. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, damn it, I really needed that. So don't do that. Don't explain why you don't need it. Don't make yourself small. Just take a breath and say, thank you. I received that. Then from that moment, notice what comes up with you. Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you want to give it back to them in some way right away? Are you already planning on how you gonna give it back to them? Do you feel exposed, vulnerable? Do you feel relieved? Do you want to run? Because that can be something to take notice of too. But just notice it. Don't judge yourself, because this is how we learn ourselves, and then this is how we start to learn ourselves. So, to close out, I want to just leave you with this. You don't have to exhaust yourself before becoming worthy of receiving. You don't have to fall apart before you're allowed support. We are human. Okay, we need each other. You don't have to carry things alone to prove that you're strong. You're allowed to need people. You're allowed to ask for help. You're allowed to receive without losing your voice. You're allowed to be supported and still be sovereign. You're allowed to be seen, to be present. And I want you to remember this too, because I'm here. And I've been through many things. And I'm still here to be a light. Not because I've never struggled, not because I have all of the answers, but because I know what it means to keep choosing growth, to keep choosing the truth, and to keep choosing life. So, yeah, because I'm like, no, I'm going to continue to keep moving forward despite obstacles or despite challenges or despite anything, because we have to keep growing. So, the daily recode that I want to give you today is, you don't have to exhaust yourself before you become worthy of receiving. So thank you all for being here with me. For more daily recodes, teachings, reflections, and community conversations, visit theabundancerecode.com. There, I do weekly bulletins. I do daily recodes. You can catch replays there. You can catch the transcripts of the messages. Very soon, I will be locking them for paid subscribers, but you are welcome to go there, and I'm pretty sure that you will find something on there that may be helpful for you. And also, I want to invite you to join my school community. My school community is the Abundance Recode. That's where we're continuing these conversations. That's where I share weekly teachings, reflections, and practices there so that we can grow together. And there you can take what supports you, very easy to move at your own pace. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has joined my live stream. And from here, we are going to be rooted in truth, and we will rise in abundance together. So until next time, and I really thank you for joining my live stream. Peace.